Is it time to quit my job to go all in on my business? As a clarity coach, this might be the number one question that I get from people thinking about going into business. If you're wondering the same thing, then listen closely because I think the answer might surprise you. So let's take this typical situation. Someone's got a great job, $100,000 a year. And also, they have done the very beautiful thing of having $100,000 put aside, maybe in a 401k, not necessarily in a savings account. And they're asking, is now the time to go all in? And I think my answer will surprise you because the answer is not actually about the money. So, first of all, the story. When my husband was going all in on his business, this was in 2008. We were in the middle of the Great Recession. He was a car salesman. If you remember back to that time, they were doing something called cash for clunkers. He had come off the mission field and he was selling cars and had a couple of really great months, and then the economy tanked and nobody was making any sales, and he had not had enough time to build up a clientele to carry him through this little time. And the only reason he was selling cars was to make some quick money to set aside to start his own business. All right, so that's the backstory. And so we had a couple great months, and we had gotten our savings up to, I think, maybe $3,000, maybe. And then this hit, and we watched him go month after month without making a single sale. And we were starting to dip into our savings. And he decided to go all in on starting his business right then. This was his reasoning. I could make more money at McDonald's than I'm making at my current job. But even though this sounds like it was a terrible time to quit and go all in on starting a business, it was actually a great time because of a few certain key reasons that looking back, I'm like, oh, this is what would-be business owners need to know. Number one, my husband knew how to sell. He just needed clients. Number two, he had a great skill base already. As a teenager, he had been building fences for farmers and he had been painting houses. And so he had a marketable skill that he could find demand for. Number three, he knew how to market. And I use that term marketing so very loosely, as in he knew how to reach out and cold call people. As a missionary, he had to do this to raise our support before we went overseas. And he was good at it. Not good as in he had the perfect script and was able to convince everybody on having us visit their church and present our ministry. No, he was good at it in that he was faithful about calling people over and over and over again. He was not shy in that area. I seriously, until I started my own business, I never really appreciated the work that takes to be able to present your ministry or your business to strangers and say, is this something that would help you? And not make it mean anything more. So, with all that being said, his decision to quit his work where he was spending 60 hours a week and not making any sales to go all in on his business. And in fact, we did cash out some of our stock at a job that we'd had previously so he could buy a work truck. I think we got it for like $1,800 and he invested a few $100s in tools and he went out. And the very first year, he was profitable and supported our family. But there were two things going for us. Number one, he was an incredible go-getter. And number two, I was an extreme frugality gal. I mean, like extreme frugality. We're talking make toothpaste out of baking soda frugality. Okay, hang on to that story because I'm going to explain to you in just a second why I would not necessarily say then to the wannabe entrepreneur coming to me who has $100,000 in a retirement fund to cash out. Yeah, go in on it. All right, so I've seen the other case. So somebody they're working a job, $100,000, great money, and they have put back great money on retirement or a 401k. But the question is not how much money do you have saved, but how long is it going to take you to learn all the skills required to make a business successful? How much runway can you afford to give yourself? So if you are making $100,000 a year and you are living on $100,000 a year, then that's actually a harder place to start a business than where we were as a family of four living on $11 an hour. We were only trying to replace $11 an hour. If he could charge $15 or $20 an hour for painting somebody's house, we were ahead of the game. So it's the amount of runway you can give yourself for learning all the skills of a business. And there's several of the skills. There is selling. Do you know how to sell? Do you know what you're selling? Product development or service? Do you feel confident in the quality that you're offering? Can you talk to strangers, or are you relying upon people that already know you? Are you okay with receiving no's? Because yes lives in the land of no's. Like, seriously, people think it's the money that creates the runway, but I think that there's two things. It's not just the money. There's the emotional energy. Like, how much energy is it going to take you to learn this? How much psychological safety do you have tied up in your current job or in the size of your savings account? If that starts draining, is that going to shake you to your core and make you desperate to make the next sale? Desperation in sales is not a good quality. People are not going to buy from us because we're desperate. And we are not going to be bringing our best work to the world, our best offers to the world from a desperate energy. So we say necessity is the mother of invention. And I 100% agree with it. But desperation isn't. Desperation usually takes us out. It is very energetically draining, desperation. So be aware of that. So now if somebody came to me and said, yes, $100,000, but I actually know that we can live on $3,000 a month. And we're prepared to do that. In fact, we're going to start right now. In fact, we've already started. And I am looking at selling this, and I've already sold a few. And the only reason I haven't sold any more is because I'm working so many hours at work that I can't deliver anymore on this offer. That's an easy yes. Okay, work is slowing you down from making more money. You are ready to go in on selling more. But the person who's saying, I think I can do it. I have seen so many people online do this. And look at coaching. I mean, you can charge $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 for packages. So like 1 or 2 clients could replace my whole salary. That's hype. That's excitement. But that's not a business plan. All right, so be aware of the thought. How much money will it take for me to start my own business? That's not the actual equation. It's how much time can I give myself? How much runway can I give myself to get this business up and growing so it not only can take care of itself, but then it can also take care of my needs? So going back to the story about my husband and I, when he was starting his business, so his job was to, go out and sell house painting and handyman services to as many people as he possibly could. But the benefit of that tightness, of that financial strain, was that seriously, we had an incredibly long runway to start a business. As in, he could run his business, and if he wasn't making enough, he could go work at anywhere to bring him money. And he wasn't too proud to go work at McDonald's. There was a time when he worked at a dog food factory because it was at nighttime and he could work more hours during the day. Fortunately, he only had to do that about 2 weeks before he filled in that gap of work because that was a really awful job. My point is, it's the runway. And if you have the type of personality that I will make this work, I don't care what it takes, it's going to happen. And I know why it's important. And I can afford to give myself the psychological runway and the financial runway. That's what we're talking about. This is why I always say it's harder to start a business when you're trying to replace a 6-figure income than if you were just trying to replace a minimum wage income, because it's just easier to get past it. Now, there's a lot of other things that are going to go into it, but you've got to give yourself the mental bandwidth to learn, as well as the financial runway bandwidth. So this doesn't matter if you have a family or you don't have a family. Like I said, I've seen it work both ways. I've seen it not work with people who had what seemed like way higher advantages. But at the end of the day, they couldn't sell because they were dreading the no ahead of time and making it mean something about their own self-worth. And so because they could not stand to hear the no, they were burning through their reserves and not learning the skills that they needed to learn to replace those reserves. You just want to be aware of it. So I've thought of 3 top skills that you need to know that you're great with before you go all in on starting your business. All right, skill number 1 is this. You need to know that you're capable of making great decisions. Great decision making. I actually have a tool for this. It's called the 1-minute decision filter. You can go to aprilbragg.com/decide to download 3 simple questions that will help you make better decisions in under a minute. But there's 3 ways that you want to look at your decisions in order to make great decisions. Too many times we are making decisions in a vacuum. So, as a business owner, if you are ready to bet all in on yourself, then one of the skills you need to know that you know is I can make great decisions. Now, a great decision, I'm very specific on this. I'm not saying a great decision is a right decision. A great decision is a decision that you go all in on, because skill number 2 is you can get things done quickly. Because the first time that we try something, it's not going to be the best way. We need to get it done and test it and see if it works, launch it, and see what happens. We need to be able to throw things out there. We need to finish things quickly so that we can get on to the 3rd step. I'll tell it to you in just a second. But if you doubt your ability to get things done and done quickly, if you're constantly needing external motivation, then you need to be aware of that and you need to get that. It's one of the reasons why I created the TimeRich Business Club, is because we all work better when we're working together and we're getting clear on what's that one thing that we need to get done this week in order to grow our business. So if that's something that you know I work better when somebody's checking up on me, you want to check that out. I'll put the link in the description. But if you're struggling to get things done, this is the room for you. It will save you massive amounts of time, massive amounts of energy, and it works out to be less than $25 a week. Because if you're starting your business, again, the runway, how much runway are you giving yourself? So step number 1 is great decision making. So that's when you make a decision so that you can go all in and start getting things done in alignment with that strategy, with that decision. And then the 3rd skill is that you know how to evaluate. See, there's 2 different ways that we're tempted to evaluate. One is we evaluate the data or we listen to the drama. So, for example, on my YouTube channel, I can have a sense that, oh, my YouTube channel is going terribly. I've only got, just shy of 400 subscribers. And it's like, oh, yeah, but how many people are clicking on my link? Versus, My YouTube channel is blowing up. I just had a video that, got 6,000 views. That's great. But how many people clicked on the link? How many people followed through with the action? The evaluation, the data. We need to have things that we are tracking in our business so we know, are we moving forward or are we stuck in the same place? Or even worse, are we losing ground? So let's wrap this up. We had just $3,000 in savings and we cashed out all of our stock to buy a work truck that was worth a couple $1,000s. But we made it work because there was two of us pulling together. I was lowering cost as much as possible on my side, and he was working as hard as possible. He was getting daily yeses and nos and lining up work, and he was willing to do whatever it took. And we kept our expenses low enough so that we had the room to learn all the things that we needed to learn in order to make money, just flat out make money, and then make more money and then make better money. So we set the bar for success so incredibly low that we had a chance of beating it. It was at McDonald's income low. And we cleared it. Congratulations to us. But that's the key to business. See, business is so simple. The principles of business are so simple that a fifth grader can do it. The problem that gets in the way is sometimes we don't give ourselves enough time to learn all the skills that are necessary to make a business successful before we have to quit and go back to the old way of making money, the job. If you don't have to quit, if you keep on in the game, eventually you will succeed. It's just guaranteed. You'll finally have learned all the lessons that were keeping you from success, and you'll have succeeded as long as you don't burn out on that. So you see how money helps. Money will buy you more time, but you've got to watch that energy piece. And money won't guarantee that you will do all the learning you need to do, that you will take all the actions in the timely order that you need to take, and that you are learning that you're learning the lessons. Sometimes we're taking the wrong lessons away. So if you're thinking that might be my problem, or I'm not sure about that, then I do encourage you to check out the TimeRich Club. That's where we, week by week, help entrepreneurs, help business owners find the one move that will grow their business this week without adding more to their plate. So we get clear on what's the one thing you need to get done this week in order to grow your business without getting distracted or starting 16 things and getting none of them done. All right. So should I quit my job to go all in on my business? You deserve to know the answer to that. You deserve to know, how sure am I that I will do whatever it takes, that I'm willing to learn whatever it takes, no matter how humbly it may seem, no matter how hard it may be to get the no's before I get the yeses, no matter how many things I have to say no to in my current life in order to give myself more budget runway, knowing the business has to take care of itself before it can take care of you. All right, I hope this has helped. If you'd like to have a video about your question, put it in the comments below. And I'll see you next week. Talk to you later.